Bandai Namco's Tales series has been a staple of my RPG collection since the GameCube days of Tales of Symphonia. Over the years, I've enjoyed the memorable worlds, colourful characters, and emotional stories that have helped define the franchise. It's also a great time to be a Tales fan, because Bandai Namco has been steadily bringing classic entries to the Nintendo Switch with remasters and quality of life improvements, making the series more accessible than ever. Tales of Arise marks the franchise's first appearance on the Nintendo Switch 2, and despite its reputation as the series' most successful entry, it's one that I somehow missed the first time around. What's it like? Form your party, grab your sword, and stock up on life bottles as we review Tales of Arise Beyond the Dawn Edition for Nintendo Switch 2. Tales of Arise follows Alphen, a Denon slave who's lost both his memories and his ability to feel pain, and Xion, a mysterious Renan woman cursed with deadly thorns that harms anyone who touches her. Despite coming from opposite sides of a centuries-long conflict, the pair form an unlikely alliance and set out on a journey across Denon's 5 realms. Along the way, they gather a ragtag group of companions, each with their own personal struggles, motivations, and connections to the world's evolving conflicts. What begins as a mission to overthrow the ruling lords gradually evolves into something much larger, challenging long-held beliefs about both Dana and Rena. While the story explores themes of freedom, prejudice, grief, and identity, it remains anchored by the growing relationships between its cast. The bond between Alphen and Xion forms the emotional core of the adventure and provides some of the game's strongest moments. Also included in this package is Beyond the Dawn, an expansion set 12 months after the events of Tales of Arise that reunites players with the same cast of characters. Revealing too much here would venture into spoiler territory, but I did appreciate the opportunity to see what happened after the credits rolled. While Beyond the Dawn doesn't really introduce significant new gameplay mechanics, it offers a worthwhile epilogue that further explores the world and its characters. This works because the cast has genuine depth and personal motivations that don't always align with each other, and there's friction within the party, differing perspectives on key events, and meaningful character growth throughout the adventure. More than once, I felt the story was settling into a familiar JRPG formula, only for a new revelation, location, or twist to send the game in an unexpected direction. Several moments caught me completely off guard, and those surprises kept me invested right through to the end. In terms of gameplay, Tales of Arise does follow that traditional JRPG structure, blending story progression with side quests, exploration, and party management. But what sets it apart is its combat system, which feels somewhat reminiscent of the recent Final Fantasy VII Remake titles, giving players direct control over their chosen character while working alongside an AI-controlled party. Combat is fast, furious, and satisfying, combining real-time attacks, last-second dodges, and powerful arts with spectacular cinematic finishes. Battles become especially exciting when unleashing boost strikes after breaking an enemy's defense, often ending encounters in a dramatic fashion. It all comes together to make combat feel both challenging and rewarding, especially for more aggressive playstyles. That said, the battle system does take a while to fully open up. While it's still enjoyable from the outset, many of its most interesting mechanics don't become available until the party roster is complete and additional abilities have become unlocked. As a result, the first 10 to 15 hours can feel like a bit of a slow burn compared to the more dynamic combat found later on in the adventure. The early chapters still maintain momentum, but they lack some of the flair and flexibility that make later encounters so engaging. The game's pacing rewards patience, gradually layering new systems onto both its combat and progression mechanics. Players will unlock new arts, expand skill trees, and gain access to additional combat options through both story progression and battle experience. Those who prefer not to micromanage every aspect of their party will likely do just fine investing points in whatever new skill trees pop up, though some of the tougher boss encounters may encourage a more strategic, or at least a well-potion stocked approach. I also became oddly obsessed with finding the game's hidden owls, and it's something I don't usually do because, to be honest, I'm not much of a completionist. Scattered throughout Dana, these feathered collectibles reward exploration with cosmetic items and other bonuses, and before long, I just found myself actively making sure I didn't miss one. Because there's something so strangely satisfying about hearing the telltale hoot of a nearby owl and immediately abandoning your current objective to track it down. It's a simple side activity, but one that just added a lot of charm to the journey. I particularly appreciated how Tales of Arise introduces its systems without overwhelming the player. There's always something new to experiment with, but it rarely so much that it becomes intimidating. Tales of Arise rewards settling in for longer sessions, with individual chapters often lasting anywhere from 3 to 6 hours, depending on how much side content and exploration you choose to pursue. Tales of Arise features a cel-shaded art style that often looks like a painting brought to life. While the opening hours of Calaglia are intentionally bleak and barren, the game quickly opens up to a visually impressive adventure filled with lush forests, frozen landscapes, and a variety of distinct regions. Each realm reflects the personality and elemental influence of its ruling lord, helping every major area feel unique and memorable. Combined with the game's anime-inspired character designs, Tales of Arise remains a striking RPG even several years after its original release. Performance on the Nintendo Switch 2 is generally solid, with the game targeting 30 frames per second during gameplay. Combat remains responsive and exploration feels smooth for the vast majority of the adventure. That said, I found one particular design choice a little strange. Most of the game's cutscenes, including battle animations and special attacks, run at 60 frames per second. And these moments look fantastic, but they also highlight what the game would have looked like had the gameplay itself been targeted at a higher frame rate. And I'm not really sure why they went with this option, and whether it would be better if they just locked it to 30 FPS, but it does look a bit odd. There's also a few minor technical issues worth mentioning. During particularly busy battles with heavy particle effects, I did notice occasional frame pacing hiccups. Similar stutters sometimes occurred when transitioning between gameplay, story scenes, and combat encounters, and I also encountered a handful of moments where environmental details and character models took a second or two to fully load in the detail during the comic-style story scenes that appear through the adventure. None of these issues significantly impacted my enjoyment of the game, and they were relatively minor across my playthrough, but even so, they're noticeable enough for players expecting a completely flawless technical experience, and you should be aware of them. For my freedom fighters looking into accessibility, there are a handful of options here to make your journey across Dana more approachable. These include adjusting input queue timing to make combo execution more forgiving, custom button remapping, fixed or rotating minimap options, and the ability to enable or disable quest markers depending on how much guidance you prefer. As always though, I recommend further research to determine whether Tales of Arise meets your specific accessibility needs. At just under $70 Australian, Tales of Arise offers an epic adventure that you can take anywhere. And it's easy to see why Arise has cemented itself as one of the strongest entries in the Tales series, combining approachable pacing, engaging combat, and a high-stakes story that subverts expectations just when you think you've settled into its rhythm. The decision to lock the gameplay at 30 frames per second while presenting cinematics and special attacks at 60 still remains an odd one. Even so, these issues do little to diminish a journey that can comfortably last anywhere from 40 to well over 100 hours, depending on how much side content you choose to tackle. The inclusion of Beyond the Dawn also gives players that rare opportunity to see what happens after the story concludes. And like I said, while it doesn't dramatically expand the gameplay formula, it provides a worthwhile epilogue and a chance to spend more time with the cast that become increasingly likeable as the adventure unfolds. Few RPGs manage to balance spectacle, heart, and character growth quite like Tales of Arise. It's a journey well worth taking, and a tale that definitely deserves to be told on the Nintendo Switch 2. So, what's it like? Tales of Arise is like Final Fantasy VII Remake, with a slick anime style.
Focus on the positive.
I award it an 86 out of 100. In the interest of full disclosure, a review copy was provided by the publisher, but this doesn't influence my score.
Consider yourself finished.
Thanks so much for watching my video. If you liked it, the best way you can support What's It Like is by liking, subscribing, and sharing it with your friends. For more reviews, click on the thumbnails to the right, and for everything Nintendo, check out whatsitlike.com.au.